Stop losing money. Welcome back to another episode of All or Nothing in Real Estate. Guys, no intro, no fluff. Let's get straight to it. Today, we're going to talk about something really important that a lot of people don't unpack, and I'm going to unpack it for you today. Today's title is Stop Losing Money. How can we plug holes in our pipeline and stop losing money? So I'm going to break this down super in depth. But before I go in depth and go super tactical, I'm going to share kind of where this comes from. One of the things I love about this podcast, about being a coach, about being a team leader, is I'm in the trenches doing this. None of the stuff I'm sharing is theory. None of the stuff is like an idea or, hey, I read it in a book or anything. All of these things are principles, are tactics, are strategies that I've applied, that I'm using, that I've learned, that I'm doing currently. And today is no different. So today, where did this come from? Number one, stop losing money. Profitability is tough in today's landscape. If you're a team leader, if you're an agent, profitability is tough. I want to remind you, you did not get in real estate to be a nonprofit. Yes, we want to have a servant's heart. Yes, we want to act in integrity. Yes, we want to do what's best for the client at all times. We can do all those things and still run a profitable business. So I'm going to talk about some things that I found in my organization, things I found in my business, and things that I think every single person listening to this, no matter where you are in your business, team leader, broker owner, CEO, you can be brand new agent, you can be agent on a team. It does not matter. There's value you will get from this. So here's what I found, and I'll break down kind of what I'm doing about it as well. But all this started from basically a case study. I was going through my business as a team leader, and I was going and finding gaps. And here's what I found. I found some appointments that were met. Right now, we are listing focused, as I'd highly recommend you be as well in today's landscape. So we've been listing focused all year as an organization, and we're constantly evolving what that looks like and how to become more seller focused, how to get in front of more homeowners, all of that. More of that on another podcast. But anyway, as we were doing that, I was looking through our database. I was looking through our pipeline. So what I found was I went through some appointments that we had met but had not signed. And I started going through them and I started analyzing, man, look at all these people that we met with. Look at all these people that we spent all the time generating the lead. We spent all the time picking up the phone and calling. We spent all the time generating marketing, action plans, follow-ups, text messages. We set an appointment with this individual. They met with us, and then we just stopped. And it really had me thinking, man, what can we do to maximize this opportunity? And I think too many times we're operating our business, whether you're an individual agent, whether you're a team leader, whether you're an agent on a team, we operate in chaos. We operate in craziness instead of strategic. Instead of taking a pause and slowing down a bit, slow down the process so you can speed up the result. And so what did I do? I went through and I found all those. I found all those appointments that we had met. And I did that. I did some math. What is our average listing worth to our organization? I did that times the amount of appointments that we had met but not signed. And I highly recommend you do the same. Be willing to bet that number is going to be pretty painful. And once that number hits you between the eyes, and once you realize how painful that is, I want you to think, what can I do to fix that? What can I do to improve that? What if I could cut that down by half? Think about this for a second. What if you could cut that down by half, meaning you could increase the revenue by half of whatever that number is to your organization? You don't have to generate any more leads. You don't have to make any more phone calls. You don't have to set any more appointments. You don't have to do any more marketing. All you have to do is plug the holes that you have in your pipeline. You already did. The hard part is already done. Think about it from a sports analogy. Let's use a football analogy. You took the ball all the way across the field. You started backed up in your own end zone, and you got all the way to the goal line. You just got to You got to run the play, run it into the end zone. And we just stopped there and said, we're not going to run the play. We'll forget about that. We'll come back tomorrow. And we do all the hard work to get all the way down the field. Today, I'm going to help you get that extra yard. Maybe it's just an extra inch. Maybe it's just a little bit further in your business with that relationship with that client and move it to the next step. Let me fast forward to what you guys have to look forward to. The process I'm getting ready to take you through. Here's what it resulted in. I found 20 people. I picked out 20 people and I spread them out strategically to certain agents. And I gave them a game plan. And out of those 20 people that were met but not signed, we have 3 new appointments set, re-engaged. We talked to 4 individuals that have already listed or sold their home with someone else. And the common denominator was, well, we would have used you, but we just haven't heard from you. And there's others. So I think that's 7. So there's 13 others that are still out there that this is day 1 as I'm recording this. There's a 3-day plan that I'll lay out for you. My gut says we'll talk to at least 18 of the 20, and we will get at least 2 more appointments from these 20 people. And so let's talk about efficiencies. Let's talk about effectiveness. Let's talk about strategy and tactics so you can actually make more of the opportunities that are in front of you. And so let me back up. Now that you know what this process resulted in so far on day 1, let's back up and let's say, how do we find these holes? I think, Matt, you're telling me I need to plug the holes. Well, how do I find the holes? So let's back up and let's make sure we're all on the same page, and let's make sure that we know what metrics we should be tracking. If you want to grow a business, you got to treat it like a business. Again, I don't care if you're an individual agent on a team leader. You're in a for-profit business. Your real estate business is a business. Start treating it like a business. So what do you need to do? You need to know your numbers. What numbers do you need to know? How many conversations have you had? How many appointments have you set? How many of those appointments have you met? How many of those appointments that you've met have you gotten signed? How many of those signed agreements are under contract? And how many of those under contracts are closed? Could you do more than that? Sure. But those are the basics. Those are what I track. I know other people that track first showings and other people that track other things, and good for them. I want to keep it as simple as possible, and I want to master the things that really matter. So again, conversations, appointments set, appointments met, signed, under contract, and closed for the buyer side and for the seller side. You need to know those numbers. How many conversations have you had this year, this month, this week? How many of those conversations, what is your conversation to appointment set ratio? What is your percentage? What is your percentage of set to met? What is your percentage of met to signed? What is your percentage of signed to under contract? What is your percentage of under contract to closed? You need to know that. We use Sisu as a software. If you're interested in learning more about that, reach out. I can connect you. I'm not affiliated, not my business. It's just something that's really helped visualize all of these numbers for us. If you have a CRM, your CRM may be able to track that too. You may not need Sisu. I like Sisu for the visual aspect for our business, but it needs to be in the CRM. And so once you have those numbers, one of the things I like to tell people is, if you know your numbers, you're not shooting at a moving target. Too many people don't know what they need to do to win the day, to win the week, to win the month, to win the year. So many real estate agents right now, and it may be you listening to this, just don't know what they need to do to get their next deal. Don't know what they need to do to hit their goal for the year. If they don't know, it's because they don't know their numbers. You need to understand these things. And what you're able to do with that is you're able to not only create a predictable, scalable, sustainable business, you're also able to find little itty bitty nuances. And as my coach tells me all the time, it's those tiny hinges that swing big doors. We can find one metric that if we can improve our conversations to appointment set metric by 5%, that transforms the trajectory of your business. What about signed to under contract? What about under contract to close? It brings awareness and it brings transparency to your business so you can find the gaps. You can find the things you're doing well. You can find the things that you can have an opportunity to grow or improve. And now a predictable real estate business. I have a playbook for all of my agents. I know exactly how many conversations it's going to take for them to reach their goal. And guess what? So do they. Are they willing to do it? Or will something get in the way? Let me just, I say this humbly. There is nobody in our organization that has followed our playbook to a T that has not hit their goal. That's how good this data is if you track it properly. All right, let me keep going. There's a rule that needs to be applied to your organization, to your personal business, whatever is relative to you. If it's not in the CRM, it did not happen. If it's not in the CRM, it did not happen. Period. You cannot improve what you do not measure. Run your business like a business. All right. How many of us, I've been guilty, I still am at times, operate our business on accident, and we're in a reactionary state. If I were to ask you, which agent is going to win, especially in today's landscape? An agent that is always reactive or an agent who is intentional and acting proactive? Which one's going to win? Proactive 10 times out of 10. Every single time. So if we know that is true, then why do we fall into the trap of being in a reactionary state? We wait for things to happen to us instead of creating a predictable business where we know what action we need to take to get the result that we desire. Super simple stuff, right? Super simple, just not easy to do. Are you working on accident? Are you working on purpose? I want you to work on purpose, with purpose. So again, sounds very, very simple, but are you doing it every day with intent? So, all right, now here's the playbook. Here's what I did. Here's what I want you guys to do. If you don't have it, get a pen and paper. Maybe you can come back and listen to this if you're driving. Don't wreck. Maybe you can come back and listen to this or listen to this later if you're driving. Appreciate you listening. Don't want you to get an accident. So you can always come back and re-listen. But here's the exact playbook. Here's the blueprint. So you can stop losing money in your organization, because I guarantee you every single one of you are losing money here. Go through the last 90 days of your business, of your numbers that we clearly identified you need to track. Let's do an audit of the last 90 days. Let's start there. Over the last 90 days, how many people, let's start further right, closer. When I say further right, visually, further right meaning closer to closing. So a conversation is the furthest left, closing is the furthest right. So we have under contract, then we have signed. So that's 2 steps back, 2 KPIs, if you will, key performance indicator. That tells us if we get more signed, logically, we'll probably have more closings, right? So let's talk about the people that we are signed but not under contract. How big is that delta? How big is that gap? How many people do you have that you've signed over the last 90 days that are not under contract? And then do an audit. Really ask yourself, look in the mirror and say, why is this person not under contract yet? What is getting in their way? Because let's face it, if they signed an agreement with you, that shows some motivation. That shows some intent. They want to be under contract. Why aren't they? What's in the way? And really unpack that and figure out what you can do to take the next step. More on that later. I'll unpack what we are doing. But more on the audit. So continue on the audit, get these names, get them all done. Next, how many of them have you met but not signed? How many appointments have you met with that did not sign an agreement to work with you? Again, I bet that number is more than we would like to admit. Good news is, if we go find it now, we can fill and plug that hole, and that is no longer more, that is not lost money any longer. Let's go get that money. It's your money. You did the hard work. Let's push this thing to the finish line. Let's cross that goal line. Let's not stop in the red zone. Let's not get stopped on the goal line. Let's get a touchdown here. Let's score. Let's actually help this buyer, this seller reached their goal. Same thing. What about set but not met? Go through all of that for the last 90 days. So pull that up in your system, understand their names, their address, all the data that you have on this individual. You should have a lot because it should be in your database, right? If you set an appointment, you met an appointment, you signed, you should have a lot of data on these people. You should know what their price range is. You should know what the commission you should expect is. You should know the date that you met them. You should know their phone number, their email, their spouse's name. You should know a lot about these people, right? So gather all that information. Then pull up your CRM and deep dive the database of each and every one of those. Where was the ball dropped? What can I do to pick the ball back up and run it into the end zone? How do I re-engage this individual if maybe they're detached? What's the last item of value that I shared with them? And I'll give you some values of items of value, values of items. I'll give you some items of value that you can share throughout this podcast. So stay tuned for that. But let's stay on track with the audit. Do that for the 90 days. Once that is complete and you have a clear strategic game plan with all of those people that are in all those gaps. Some of the game plans, by the way, may be, you know what? I don't want to focus on those people. They're not motivated. The reason that they're signed and not under contract is because they have super unrealistic expectations. They're not willing to get pre-approved. Maybe they have bad credit. Maybe they wanted to sell, but they want some crazy pie in the sky number and we don't want their business. Cool. But notate that and get them out of that list so that you can focus on the right people that are motivated. And I'll give you a list, a cheat sheet that we use towards the end of this podcast that I'll give to you for free. That is what we classify as a hot buyer or seller. And these 5 things are super crucial for you to fill these gaps. All right, so you did the 90 days audit. Guess what you do next? Do the same exact thing. Go back further, last 12 months. Pull up all those people. Pull them up in the CRM. Who do I still want to work with? Where have I dropped the ball? What can I do to move the relationship forward? And again, I'll give you some scripting here in a minute that you can go through with all of these individuals. But once you find those, if you're like my business, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. I'm a bit embarrassed to admit it, but it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and it's probably millions of dollars. But guess what? I'm human. Guess what? I'm in the trenches right alongside you, so I'm aware of this problem. Let's fix it together, right? Okay, let's dive in. Here's something I think is important. I mentioned, what if there's some people there that you go through, you do this audit, and maybe they're not your avatar client. Maybe they're not your ideal client. Maybe they're not showing the respect that you would expect from a buyer or seller that you want to work with. It's a nice way of putting it, right? We have a policy in our organization. It's the no asshole policy. If you're an asshole, we don't want to work with you. We love you. We just don't want to work with you. Go work with someone else. You're better fit for them, right? And so maybe it's one of those cases, or maybe you don't have the capacity and maybe someone else on the team would be better fit, personality clash, whatever. Also, I think as you do this audit, here's what I think you will find. And here's what I know you will find, because I did this in our business. I had an in-depth conversation with one of our top performing agents this morning. We did this deep dive in their own database. And one of the things that they said was, well, this individual, the very first person on the list that we did a deep dive on, I said, well, you signed this person back in January, 8 months ago, and they're still not under contract. What got in the way? And he said, well, I'm just not sure I want to work with this person. Perfect. How come? Well, they have unrealistic expectations. They're looking in 5 different states. The very first phone call he remembered, because this guy was an asshole. Remember my policy, no assholes. He said, well, he told me in the very first phone call, don't you ask me to sign anything. I'll never sign anything with one of you real estate agents. And I said, interesting. And so this guy he was on the met, not signed list. Sorry, not the signed list. I said, so you met with this guy. Those were the conversations. And what is your relationship with him now? Well, I'm still sending him properties. I followed up like 38 phone calls, something like that. And I said, So do you feel at this point in time, this person's going to transact with you? Well, I don't know. Awesome. Would you like to build a predictable, scalable, sustainable real estate business? I said, well, yeah, of course. Awesome. I gave them some scripting, some role play, some dialogues to have. I'll take you a little bit inside the curtain of what that looked like. It was just a resetting of expectations, revisiting the things that he mentioned. So I told him, if I were you, here's what I would do. I would call Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, say, hey, Mr. Buyer, Matt Smith here. I was going through my file on you, and I realized we've been working together since January. Did you know that? Yeah, I mean, it's a long time. It's August. I guess I was just under the assumption that we would have found your house by now. What about you? Test their motivation. Are your expectations and their expectations in alignment? And if he says, yeah, I expected to find my house by now, or now I'm not in a rush, then you pivot to where the conversation goes. Do you want to keep people on your hot list that aren't in a rush? No, that's one of the 5 things we'll get to in a second, right? But anyway, going back to the conversation. And then he said, well, what do I do about the buyer's agency? What do I do about this? I said, because here's what I would do. The next step is this person pre-approved? Do you have clarity? Do they have clarity on what they're looking for in a property? What their motivation is to buy or sell, what their timeline is, and are they willing to work with you and commit to you as their buyer's agent? And kind of laughed some of those off, like this was just not going to be a good fit. And I said, awesome. So here I gave some scripting to go through, and it sounded something like, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, one of the things that's really important to me here at Matt Smith Real Estate Group is we take our job very seriously. And as I'm sure you do in your job, you don't like to work for free. And by no means is this about me. This is about us, and this is about a relationship, and this is about me doing the best that I can to serve you. So I remember back early in our conversations, you had mentioned that you weren't willing to sign anything for a real estate agent to represent you. I'm just curious, since that conversation, have I modeled and demonstrated the behavior that you would expect from the real estate agent that you would choose to work with to buy your next home? If he says yes, which this agent assumed that he would, because this is a great agent. He's done a really good job following up. Awesome. So I'm just curious then, what is getting in the way of you committing to working with me? Because I'm obviously showing that I'm committed to working with you. And then our organization, we have a cancellation guarantee. And so you can throw that in there as well. You know, what's really important to me, again, it's not about me, it's about you, is that you get the service that you deserve, Mr. Buyer. And one of the things that's really important to us here at our team, especially in today's landscape, I'm not sure if you know what's going on with the NAR settlement and all of that stuff, but real estate has changed forever. And it's changed in the industry, but what we're really fortunate here is this has just been standard practice for us for ever since this team has existed. We've served over 4,000 clients using this proven process. And our proven process is we like to represent our clients in the purchase of the biggest investment of their life. What that relationship looks like is an agreement that we sign that I commit to you, like we just talked about, and you just said that I'm doing my job. I'm just repeating back what they said. You had told me that I was doing this really well. I was demonstrating the behavior that you would expect when you were working with a real estate agent. So I've shown my commitment to you. I guess what I'm asking you, Mr. Buyer, is are you willing to show your commitment to me? And if at any time I don't hold up my end of the bargain, you can cancel this agreement. It's not to bait and switch. It's not to hold you to something you don't want to be a part of. It is truly to allow me to represent you, especially in today's landscape. What would get in the way of you and I working together? And if he gives pushback, I would bring back up the payment. I don't know about you, Mr. Buyer. I understand what you're saying. I would just have a hard time asking you to work and go to your job for free. And I'm not willing to do that anymore with you. I want to help you. I want to serve you. But if you would like to continue forward in this relationship, this is what's required. And the agent looked at me with bug eyes and said, wait, what? I said, let me change behavior. Let me get out of the role play for a second. And I coached the agent through and I said, there's a difference between you and me. I'm willing to walk away. If the client's not a good fit for me, I'm willing to walk away. He's like, well, what if the client says, I'm not signing anything, I'll work with someone else? Awesome. Would you like for me to find you an agent? I'm not tied to the emotions of what he chooses or what he doesn't choose. I'm tied to the principles of I want to work with the right people that want to work with me. And when you adopt that mindset, and it's not a I'm better than mindset, let's be very clear. This is a very unique situation. I'm going super in depth here because I think it's really relevant for everyone that maybe is going through this currently. Are you sure you're working with the right people? Are you setting the proper expectations? Are you guiding them to the proper next steps? Here's a power question that you should all write down. Every single one of these follow-ups, you should ask this question. Mr. Buyer, I'm curious, what is the next step for you in buying a home? Mr. Seller, I'm curious, what is the next step for you in selling your home? What are they going to say? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, I don't know. Well, perfect. That's what I'm here for. I'm so glad we're on the phone today. I would love to help you build that strategy and build that clear plan. Like so many of my other clients that have struggled with that, that's what we specialize in. I actually have some availability tomorrow at 2 or 3 to build that strategy and that plan for you and your family. Which works better for you? 2 or 3? Set the appointment. Build a clear plan. Anyway, these podcasts are so funny. I didn't plan on doing that role play, but I hope that was helpful. Hope that was helpful for you guys. All right, let's move on to the next topic. So, whole point is be willing to walk away. Do you have walkaway power? Are you willing to say no? Are you willing to stand your ground? Do you have the confidence in yourself that you can go create more business to replace that? Do you have the confidence in yourself that you're worth the amount of commission that you charge? I want to encourage you to build that confidence in self, right? All right. Now let's talk really, really in depth here. I want to talk about next steps. What classifies as a hot buyer or seller? I've got a little cheat sheet for you. I'll do my best to get it linked in the show notes. If not, reach out to me and I'll share it with you. But I'll go over it here as well. But I've got a checklist that I can share with you guys. But let's go over what classifies as a hot buyer or hot seller. Number 1, they're actively looking at homes and ready to submit offers, or actively looking to sell their home and ready to list. Actively looking at homes, ready to submit an offer. Well, how do I know that, Matt? You just ask them. Number 1, are they actually looking at homes? And if they're looking at homes, have you asked them what would need to happen in order for you to submit an offer on a home? What are we waiting on? Is it time? Is it money? Is it interest rates? Is it the right property? What does that look like? I think also before you even go and show homes, you should probably lay the groundwork properly. It's not a scripting podcast, but you should probably set the proper expectations so that they know we're not looking at homes without writing offers. The whole point of looking at homes is to write offers. So set those next steps and expectations properly. Number 2, fully approved. Do they have a pre-approval letter? Fully approved with the capacity to buy or sell and have realistic expectations. Again, expectations. Expectations, expectations, expectations. Have you set the proper expectations with them? You see, here's what most agents do. They make it sound sunshine and rainbow, and they let the client lead the process. Buyers and sellers don't need you to sell them. They don't even need you to help them in today's marketplace. They need you to lead them. Be the leader that they need and they deserve. You are the guide. You are the leader. Lead them through this process. That's what great salespeople, that's what great real estate agents do. And that starts with setting the proper expectations. So crucial. Number 3, they're driven by a strong motivation. Sounds simple, right? How many people have you showed in the last 90 days that you had no clue what their motivation was? Probably a lot. Maybe not, but maybe so. Number 4, they need, not a want, need to move in the next 90 days. Oh, it'd be nice if. That's not a need. Number 5, 100% committed to working with you. They've got an agency agreement signed. If one of these 5 things are not checked off, they are not a hot buyer. They are not a hot seller. Well, Matt, that seems pretty extreme. Yep. But it fucking works. Let me tell you this. So many agents struggle with follow-up, and I'm with you guys. I get it. It's a struggle sometimes on what do I say? How do I move the relationship forward? And I think one of the reasons we struggle is because we just don't know what to say. And all we get stuck on is we rekindle the relationship, and then we don't know where to go from there. Let me encourage you, you get this checklist, you print it out and you have it, and you know from all of your people that you're following up with, how many of these boxes are checked. Guess what the next step is in this conversation? Get one more or the rest of the boxes checked. And if they're not willing to check the boxes, you need to do an audit on your business. And do I have the time to waste with these people who aren't taking this buying or selling seriously? Stop wasting your time with tire kickers. If you're showing properties and not writing offers, if you're listing properties and they're not listing the price you recommend and it's sitting on the market, whose fault is it? Is it theirs or is it yours? Accept extreme personal responsibility, make these adjustments, and then this business becomes easy. But you have to be willing to say no. You have to be willing to set the proper expectations. You have to be willing to prospect and follow up every single day to continue to build the pipeline so your pipeline not only gets bigger, but it also gets stronger. Imagine if you had a pipeline of 10 people that checked all 5 of those boxes. What would your business look like over the next 30 or 60 days? Pretty phenomenal. If you take your quote unquote hot list right now and you compared it to these 5 things, how many of those people actually have all 5 of those boxes checked? My guess, very few. So are they really a hot buyer? Are they really a hot seller? Or have they just actually responded to you and you're kind of communicating with them? You showed them that one property that one time. I think they might want to buy a home. Or do you have a relationship? Do you have rapport? Have you led them through this process? So important. All right. Let me share a mistake. I'm going to be vulnerable for a minute. I yelled at you guys a little bit, so let me back up. Let me be vulnerable and let me share a mistake that I made that I would love for you guys to learn from. So one of my focuses in my business is finding gaps, finding holes, and plugging them. I just think that's a model that I've ran my business off of for a long time, and I think that it's served us pretty well. By no means are we perfect. We have holes everywhere, but we're at least we're aware of most of them, and we're attempting to fix them, right? And so one of the things that I've found and I used to do that does not work is I would find these holes and I would tell the agents, I would show them how to find it, and I would assume that they did it. Agents, I love you, but that just doesn't work. Hope and a prayer is a terrible leadership strategy. I know. I've tried it. It doesn't work very well. So I think it is important. It is super important that you do the audit for them if you're a team leader. Give them people to call. Give them a clear plan of what to say. Give them a clear follow-up action plan, meaning a text and an email. Give them clarity of what that looks like. My recommendation, call, text, and email every day for 3 days. If they don't answer, move on. But give it 9 contact attempts in 3 days with scripting that you approved, with a text template you approved, with an email template that you approved and recommended. 3 days in a row. Here's what I experienced. If they don't answer on day 1, but you consistently follow up and you send them great texts with great questions, you leave a great voicemail, you send a great email, they'll respond on day 2 or 3. You'll be surprised how many of them respond on day 2 or 3. But we just do one and done. Well, they don't want our help. No, they're probably busy. Life happens. Consistency. Next, so you find, let's do the exact thing that I did. So I found 20 appointments met that were not signed. Okay. 20. I started there. Instead of giving 20 to one agent, instead of saying what I've done in the past, hey guys, I got these 20 opportunities. Here's the tag. Go find them. Good luck. Instead, what did I do? I packaged it differently, and the result, night and day difference. So what I did was I found and handpicked 5 for agent 1, handpicked 5 for agent 2, 5 for agent 3, and 5 for agent 4. And I sent them personally. Here they are. Here's what I recommend you do. Do this, this, and this, and report back. 2 of the agents reported back in an hour with good news and bad news. But good news, let's focus on the good. Good news being that they had a conversation, they reset another appointment. They still want to sell their home. I've done this over and over and over and over again in team meetings, and I've never gotten the feedback of they set an appointment from it. Because I was not specific, I was not clear, and I didn't do my job as a leader to give them clarity on what to do, exactly how to do it, and accountability of, please report back to me. These little adjustments will make a massive improvement in your business. So with those 20 people, this was done yesterday. We're on day 2. With those 20 people, we've set 3 appointments. We've talked to 4 people that have already listed or sold with someone else in day 1. It's not a new lead. It was a re-inspiring, reinvigorate, if you will, of someone we already met with, but we forgot about them. It happens. Go find those opportunities, give a clear plan to your agents, build a clear plan for yourself, follow up consistently, call, text, email 3 days in a row, and watch your business explode. That's free money. That is free money. You already generated the lead. If you have an ISA department, they already set the appointment. The agent already set the appointment. You already met with them. You already spent time doing a presentation. You spent time showing them a property. You spent time driving to their house. Don't you want to get paid for that? Sometimes we're shooting at the wrong target. We're chasing more opportunity. I want to remind you of something that is just so prevalent in so many areas of my life. And I think it will be for yours too. So many times we're looking for more. In this case, more leads, more opportunities, more appointments. But the reality is more isn't always better. But better is always better. And so maybe more is the answer sometimes. But before you start adding more, what about if you go back and you maximize what you already have? See what kind of results you can get there. And I promise you, it'll help plug those holes in your business and help you stop losing money. Let's think about it. How much time, energy, effort do you spend getting a lead to an appointment set? Most real estate teams, most agents, a lot of it. Calling, texting, emailing, calling, social media, video this, text that, call this, to hopefully set an appointment. When's the last time you went through all the appointments that you set to see what you can do to get them to meet? And then once you get them to meet, let's get them to sign a representation agreement with us. Then let's get them under contract. Then let's get them closed. Sometimes it's these efficiencies that we're missing, right? The point is, we spend so much time getting them to that point. So much. We can't just give up then. Go back and revisit. I want to talk about efficiency and effectiveness. I think that is crucial in today's landscape. How efficient are you working? What is efficiency? Efficiency is the ability to accomplish a task with the least amount of time, effort, and resources. How efficient are you in your day-to-day business? This is an example of being more efficient. We already set the appointment, so we got the lead. We had a conversation. We set the appointment. Maybe we met them, but we didn't get them signed. How do we become more efficient? Go get the damn agreement signed. Why did you meet with them? You hopefully met with them with intent so you could sign an agreement so you could get them under contract so you could get them closed. Quit going through the motions and think critically, with intent. Again, work on purpose with a purpose. What about effectiveness? Effectiveness refers to the degree to which something is successful in producing a desired result. Are you effective in your business? Effectiveness is measured by the result. What is the result? The result you're all after, we are all after, is closings. Inspect your database. Go through this audit in your pipeline. Plug the holes in your boat. We don't need more. We don't need more leads. So many of us don't need more leads. I said this at an event that I was privileged to speak at. So many people, if they don't have enough sales, what do most agents say? I don't have enough sales. If I don't have enough sales, I don't have enough closings, I need more what? More leads. But I'm going to challenge you. Who in the hell taught you that more leads equal more sales? That's not how that works. It's the conversion of leads that matter. What are you doing in the pipeline of the lead you've already converted to an appointment to ensure they get to a closing? I think so many of us overlook that, including myself. So that's my case study for today. Hope this is helpful. Hope this is beneficial. And I hope this helps you stop losing money and plug the holes in your pipeline. I'm going to wrap this up because I'm out of time. I'm going to wrap it up with a lesson I learned from Alex Hormozi. I think it's so crucial. It's somewhat on topic, not totally, but Alex Hormozi is amazing, and this is a lesson that we can all learn from. Here's what he said. Every person listening to this has listened to thousands of podcasts, read tons of books, probably went to tons of events, yet they're in the exact same condition as before they went. And they also have not changed their behavior, which means they have not learned. Stay with me. His definition of learning, the same condition, but a new behavior. So think about it. Every time you consume a piece of content, if you think, what behavior am I going to change as a result of this? What behavior am I going to change as a result of this? If the answer is nothing, then by definition, you have not learned. And even worse, you've wasted your most valuable resource, which is your time. The reality is you pretended to be learning, but what you were really doing is entertaining yourself. So my advice to you, my encouragement to you, if you listen to this podcast, I want to encourage you to learn, not merely just entertain yourself. The difference is the behavior you choose or choose not to change. Thank you guys for listening. I truly appreciate the support. I love doing this. I love all the feedback that I get. The show is continuing to grow. It's really, really humbling to see. I really appreciate all your support. Please continue to share this with a friend. Share this with your colleagues. Share this with an agent somewhere across the country that you met at an event one time, or that sent you a book, or someone that you know that sent you a referral. Let's grow this thing so we can continue to give back to this amazing industry that has given so much to me, and I hope gives so much to you. We'll see you guys next week.